And so my final topic for today is kind of a transition between RNC, DNC, and what's going on in the real world and kind of what we're going to do going forward up until the election. And the perfect example of what's really happening, I think, in America right now was the March on Washington that happened on Friday, which was the anniversary of Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, or March on Washington speech as well. And it was just exactly what it just wraps it up perfectly in a bow. So it's going to be a pretty quick thing here, pretty quick and last topic here. But so there was 1,500 people at the White House, right, for President Trump's speech at the RNC, and it was widely panned by mainstream media because there was too many people, no social distancing, blah blah blah. But then you have the March on Washington the next day, and there are, I would guess, like 10 times more people. It looked like thousands and thousands of people. It's been reported thousands, but they're not giving an exact, like an estimate, because they don't want to kind of focus on that, because they know that people are going to call them out. So there's thousands more people there, and there was more masks and a little more distancing, but there was tons of people there, which I'm not saying that they should be able to do that, by the way. I support them being able to peacefully protest the way they were actually doing it at that March on Washington speech. In the streets the night before after the RNC was a different story, but I don't really want to touch on that right now. So you have these two events. One was way more extreme and should have been equally panned, if not more, for the size of the crowd. If we're saying the amount of outrage is proportionate to the size of the violation, if you will. But then I was reading, and both, if I'm correctly stating that the Washington Monument is federal grounds, which I believe it is, as far as the same as the White House, those two places are exempt from Washington, D.C., the city's rules that you can't have gatherings of over 50 in public. And so you would think if a news media was just trying to state the facts or be at least fair and hold everyone to the same standard, you would pan both events for no social distancing. Of course, you can say you agree or disagree with what was said at each event, but to purposefully pan one event but not the other, it just blatantly shows your bias as far as what you're trying to accomplish. And I thought the whole narrative was public health wasn't a political thing or wasn't a partisan thing, but clearly some of the things that are happening are showing that it is. So that was one thing. And I won't really get into what was said at the march, or this year's march, I should say, in reference to what they're supporting, but I'll just say I do not think that MLK Jr. would be supportive of what's happening in reference to what they're supporting at that speech. I'll just leave it at that. You can assume what that is, or you can elaborate on that in the comments if you want. But I think that's kind of what I want to say for now on that event.